Welcome to another edition of Breaking News brought to you by Source Selection Soundbites. Today we will discuss the case of Soft Rams LLC decided at the GAO. In this acquisition, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, or CMS, had a requirement for operations and management of the agency's identity management system. The competition was limited to small business firms that held an appropriate GSA schedule. The solicitation advised vendors that quotations would be evaluated in two phases. In the first phase, vendors were to submit their quotations addressing only the corporate experience factor. Following evaluation of Phase 1 quotations, the agency would conduct an advisory Downselect, in which CMS would advise vendors if they were invited to participate in Phase 2 or unlikely to be a viable competitor, though all vendors were permitted to participate in Phase 2, regardless of the information provided in the advisory Downselect. During Phase 2, vendors were to submit written quotations covering pricing and Factors 2 and 4. Also during Phase 2, the agency would assess vendors' quotations under Factor 3 with a challenge exercise and evaluate the vendor's communications ability. No written submissions were required for Factor 3. Rather, the agency was to schedule an oral presentation with each vendor. The solicitation required vendors to have their quoted key personnel present to provide the oral presentation. Omni, whose team consisted of a prime and subcontractor, was invited to Phase 2 along with several other competitors. However, Omni reconfigured its business structure in Phase 2. The agency awarded to the reconfigured Omni team and had to take corrective action. In the corrective action, the agency reevaluated proposals but did not redo oral presentations, so a protest was filed against the agency's action. The protester argued that the agency improperly relied upon the Factor 3 oral presentation made by the illegally constituted Omni CTA team in selecting Omni Prime's revised quotation for award. It appears the agency failed to fully address the original error it was attempting to correct, specifically in allowing the Omni Prime vendor to submit a revised quotation to replace the Phase 2 quotation submitted by the eliminated Omni CTA team. The agency failed to obtain a complete replacement quotation from Omni Prime by not conducting or allowing for a new Factor 3 oral presentation. In sum, the agency based its selection decision on a quotation that was composed of submissions from two different vendors. The agency contended that because Omni Prime did not form a separate legal entity when entering into the GSA CTA, nothing under the GSA rules or the solicitation prohibited them from changing their formation under the same quotation. The agency further maintained that because the formation change was permissible, the agency reasonably considered portions of the quotation submitted by the different vendor configurations as a single quotation. En route to finding against the agency, the court noted that the argument is squarely at odds with the agency's contemporaneous finding in response to Omni's agency-level protest, challenging the elimination of the Omni CTA from the competition. There, the agency recognized that the two vendor configurations were separate respondents to the solicitation. Specifically, in upholding its decision to eliminate from the competition the Omni CTA vendor, the agency stated only those who responded with Phase 1 submissions would be eligible for Phase 2. Therefore, the competition was closed to any new respondents. GAO found the agency's argument submitted in response to the current protests unpersuasive. Thus, the protest was sustained. Now let's address a few of the lessons learned from this protest. They include 1. If a vendor updates its business structure between Phases 1 and 2, it counts as submissions from two different competitors. 2. The GSA rules do not allow updated configurations without an amendment to the solicitation. And 3. The agency's evaluation must be based on the submission of one entity in order to be valid. In this episode of Source Selection Soundbites, we discuss the Soft Ram case and the advisory Downselect principles associated with it. This concludes today's Source Selection Soundbite. If this video was helpful, hit the like and subscribe button to ensure you don't miss any new material. If you want more details on the subject, they are available on the Source Selection Answer app. It contains lectures, quizzes, court cases, sample documents, and more material that allows practitioners to quickly obtain actionable knowledge. Thanks for watching. See you next time.